With the excitement of Max Verstappen as this season's Formula 1 World Champion, the excitement degree is definitely not the same, but the season isn't closed yet. Still 4 races to go, and the next destination will be the United States. Teams will be trying to score more points, but are there teams intending to bring modifications to their cars, especially with the cost cap files circulating lately? Keep on watching, guys. Let's find out. Reports are actually talking about new upgrades Mercedes are working on to add to their W13 for the United States Grand Prix next weekend. Mercedes announced that these changes are the last one for the 2022 season. With just 4 races left in the season, these improvements will be mainly aero upgrades for both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell's cars. Andrew Chauvelin, the Mercedes trackside engineer and director, declared that his team is introducing these upgrades in Circuit of the America, trying to secure the second position in the Constructors' Championship from Ferrari. Even though the Mercedes team principal had previously declared not being interested in P2. Toto Wolff said he isn't concerned about whether his team finished second or third in the Constructors' Championship, saying he would rather Mercedes win races on merit. Talking to Racing News, he said, "Second is the first loser for me. Whether it's second or third in the Constructors' Championship is not so relevant compared to really racing and being at the front, developing the car so we can win races on merit, beat the Ferraris, beat the Red Bulls, and prepare for next year, rather than really care about the championship position." But he came out later after the low-scoring Singapore Grand Prix and said his team's hope of beating Ferrari to second place in the Constructors' Championship was reduced. This season has given us several tough lessons, and today was another one. We started from opposite ends of the grid with our 2 cars, but we couldn't capitalize on the car's race pace with either of them when it came to an end result. The biggest frustration is that we couldn't build on the signs of the competitive performance we saw in FP2 and in qualifying. Our championship fight for P2 has got significantly more difficult with this result, but the only thing to do is to collect ourselves and throw our energy into the next race in Suzuka to rebuild momentum. Mike Elliott, the current technical director at Mercedes, revealed they are actually optimistic about this prospect. "It's Austin our final step of aero development, and that will hopefully give us a bit more performance." Elliott revealed that Mercedes engineers and technical staff worked also on reducing the car's weight to be closer to the weight limit. He added that Mercedes upgrade process this year was more about understanding the car and trying to improve it every time, which would serve the team for next year too, and this is a major focus for the team at this stage. But importantly, with every step, we are learning more and more, and that learning we can carry into next year. So that's part of it. Also, there's few bits where we have taken some weight out of component that will hopefully get the car closer to the weight limit. Asked about these predictions for the qualifying session in Austin, Andrew Chauvelin, the Mercedes trackside engineer and director, repeated that even with the upgrades, it will be difficult to predict where Mercedes will be on pace next weekend. Chauvelin admitted the team's car pace has significantly improved, but they still need a step to become able to fight with their 2 rivals, Red Bull and Ferrari. "It's very difficult for us to predict where we are going to be. In Singapore, Lewis was awfully close to pole position. Yet in Suzuka, both cars had a big gap to the front. Our race pace has been reasonably strong, so if we can make a step, hopefully we get into the fight with the Ferraris and the Red Bulls." Chauvelin also commented on Circuit of the America, which was bumpy last year and contributed to Lewis Hamilton's defeat to Max Verstappen after a close fight for the victory. All with tires overheating problem, particularly the softer ones. He clarified that the circuit has been resurfaced lately to avoid the bumps issues. However, Chauvelin prefers not giving any predictions before being there and identify all the data. They've done some resurfacing, so hopefully those issues with the bumps are a bit less. But what's very hard this year is to really know where we are going to be on the circuit before you've gone there. A lot of it is about learning, but we're not going to make any predictions about how we're going to perform. We just need to go there on Friday, see what kind of issues we have, and see whether we can solve those with setups. During the same interview, Mercedes track engineer and director talked about the last race at the Japanese Grand Prix and admitted his team made major mistakes. When teams both drivers double-stacked when it was time to change from the wet to intermediate tires, this led George Russell to lose time and he finished 8th, while his teammate Lewis Hamilton spent a frustrating Sunday afternoon stuck behind Esteban Ocon, Alpine driver, because of the lengthy rain delay. This left him 5th at the checkered flag. Mercedes couldn't disagree with Russell's complaint and comments after the end of the race. Mistakes weren't the only matters Mercedes had in Japan. The team's pace on the straight was too weak, which led Russell to say the circuit exposed the weaknesses of the Mercedes car, while his teammate Lewis Hamilton said after the race that he were the slowest. "I tried everything. Unfortunately, we're just incredibly slow this weekend. We were the slowest out of everyone. I think on the straight, as soon as you pull out of the toe, I was just going nowhere." Replying on this, Under Chauvelin explained Mercedes opted for the highest downforce level, taking in consideration the race being wet. Part of that decision is that it was actually giving us our best lap times in the race condition where we are going to get high degradation in the dry. But we'd also seen this rain that was coming on Sunday, and we felt that in a wet race that might be a benefit. Now, as it happened, the DRS was never enabled, which means overtaking was very hard. He carried on clarifying that a lower downforce would have been better there. However, this was another lesson for the next year car concept to improve, especially at the lower drag levels. Perhaps the right decision would have been to bias to a lower downforce setting, but fundamentally, one of the things we need to improve on the car for next year is to get the car to have more downforce at the lower drag levels, and then we can race those lighter wings and still be competitive in the corners. Chauvelin seems to be optimistic, talking about the remaining races of the season, saying that Mercedes will certainly give it a shot in these last races. But qualifying for us is the really difficult one to predict at the moment. As I said, a lot of it is about learning, and we're certainly going to give our best shot in the final 4 races. While Mercedes declared about their upcoming updates, main rivals Red Bull aren't planning any more major upgrades to their car for the remainder of 2022. Do you think these upgrades at that time will be helpful for the team? Would these improvements really help Mercedes for the next year's car concept? Tell us in the comment section below. That was all for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.